Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I would like to share with you guys how my first gravel race went, what setup I used, and what I learned from it. It was an amazing experience, a really tough endurance fitness test, and I would like to share with you guys how it went. The race was called Erratico Gravel. It had 3 distances and I was going to do the longest one, which was around 210 kilometers with I think 2,300 meters of elevation gain. The course started really close to my hometown, around 30k from where I live, a couple of really steep climbs, a lot of off-road sections, but a lot of pavement and tarmac as well. Kind of like a race/event in the sense that the race itself was only on 2 timed segments along the route. But what I did was I approached it as a really long training day for cycling basically. And I was just going to try and do the loop as fast as I could. This I thought would be a very good way to test my threshold on a 10-hour event, how my fitness basically would fare and what intensity I could hold for such a long period of time. The bike I was using was a stock Specialized Crux comp that I had just bought. It is my favorite bike. I'd been eyeing it for a long time. The Specialized Crux is an ultra light, ultra reactive gravel bike, and for fast, high intensity riding, it is awesome. It basically is like having a road bike that can go off-road. Stock wheels, stock Specialized Pathfinder Pro 38 tires with tubes in them, 40-tooth chainring. I'm gonna make a full review of the bike very soon. It is an amazing bike. Bike gear was a full adventure kit by Supersapiens with cargo bibs, great quality cargo bibs. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to get them with a discount. DMT KR3 shoes, which are an XC shoe, but they're perfect for an event like this. And a Brighton Rider 750 for maps and navigation. I had never ridden my bike for this long, continuously, and with a high intensity. I'd done some pretty long rides, but never like this intense. So let's start off from the beginning, the night before the race, and getting all the gear prepped. Okay guys, so it is the night before the gravel race. I'm super stoked. I can't wait to get there. Right now it is 8 p.m. I don't have my watch on actually, so I don't really know what time it is. I'm getting everything ready. It's all a mess. I don't know what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do right now is put on a new Supersapiens so that tomorrow I can have all the values for my glucose levels, which I think is pretty key on a thing that might be like 12, 13 hours long. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Tomorrow I'll be racing with Trail Runner backpack. I hate having bags on my bike. So tomorrow that's what I'm going to try with a camelback with some water in it. There's going to be 8 stations and we're not going to be like in the middle of nowhere. So there's going to be places to like get stuff to eat and stuff like that. But I'm going to be carrying quite a lot of stuff. And yeah, that's it. So bedtime and getting ready for tomorrow.
The day started off with a 4:05 alarm clock. I was absolutely wrecked. Got some coffee going and I started preparing all my stuff. So I had a trail running backpack with a water bladder. Then I started preparing the fuel. So I was going to fill up the water bottles with 250 grams each of sugar. So in total I have 500 grams of cane sugar diluted with water. This I found to be the simplest, cheapest way to get fuel for a long event like this. I put in a couple of salt caps, so 2,000 milligrams of salt inside each bottle. I filled up the camelback and it was time to go. Headed out, it was extremely dark. I met up with a friend, Oliviero, who unfortunately flattered as soon as we started, so we had to fix that. And the funniest thing is, we had to commute to the start of the race.
Okay, so we are on our way to the start line. It's 25k cycling, which is something new that I've never done. Never had to ride to the beginning of a ride and it being like almost 30k, but it's all good. It's pretty cold, but we're almost there.
After an illegally early alarm clock, we got to the start of the Erratico Gravel. The cutoff for the event, which I didn't know existed, was going to be at 6:30 in the evening, kind of like at sunset. When I got to the start of the race organizers were very clear that they didn't think that anybody could do the loop in one day. They had thought about it as a bikepacking loop to be done on 2 days. It was 6:20 a.m. and I realized that I really needed to get going if I wanted to be able to complete this loop in one day. The race had a French start, so everybody could start between 6 and 7 a.m. and I decided to say goodbye to Oliviero and just go for it. The organizers really seemed serious in saying that they didn't think anybody could do the loop, but I was 100% dead set in completing it before the cutoff. The problem is I severely underestimated what was expecting me.
Okay, so we are 20k into the ride. Just saw a really amazing sunrise, super dope. So far it's really cool. It's like a good mixture of road, gravel and single track. Already fallen once, a little bit of a bloody finger, but it's all good. Loving it right now. It's kind of cold. The route is sick, and what I'm trying to do today is just treat this like a training day, like a really long training day on the bike. I think I'm a bit early on the course because there was supposed to be 2 timed spots, but I think I got to the first one while they were still setting up the timing map. So, but it's all good because my strategy is going to be on the road, like here, send it as much as I can, and on gravel do what I can. Feeling good? Let's get it.
1.5 hours in, we got to this climb in Musci, which led into the first really technical section of the day. This is where stuff really started to get technical. So this was the first section that was more of a mountain bike section than gravel. Had to get off, had to walk, it was full of exposed rocks, and this went on for I would say around 10 minutes. I did my best to ride as fast as I could, but this section started to put into my mind the idea that it was going to be a tough day. This was not going to be all super easy gravel, but it was going to be a lot of technical sections, which was going to mean a lower speed and paying more attention to just staying upright rather than pedaling hard. The mega technical section ended and we got back on some just standard gravel in a forest. It was really beautiful. Then we headed out right next to a river on a more open section where you could ride hard. At this point, I still hadn't seen any person other than me on the race course, even though I knew that somebody else had already started. I think we were a total of 20 people attempting the 200k loop in one day, but I still hadn't seen anyone. This section on the side of the river was awesome. It was hard-packed gravel and it was a great moment to charge and really send it. It was so much fun. Riding 40k per hour on gravel is sick. It's an awesome feeling. I kept on guzzling down sugar water and staying on top of my nutrition. I was feeling pretty good. The sun was starting to come out and starting to warm me up. It was pretty cold before, but now I was starting to feel a bit better. I knew this was going to be a long day, but at this point I was still enjoying it and I felt strong.
Okay guys, so we are 2 hours in, feeling great. Put music in, so it's giving me an extra boost. We have done 46k in 2 hours and 4 minutes, so pretty happy with that. It is sick, man. I'm feeling like crazy, like high. Basically I'm feeling high. It's the music, the sugar, the riding. I'm basically trying to send it as much as I can. So far so good. Check in with you in 1 hour.
This section of the course was mostly composed of gravel, with some easy gravel roads and a lot of sections that were really hard on the wrists with like exposed rocks and loose rocks. The course opened up and I ended up in this area with vineyards where I met the first other contender of the race who had left before me, and we did a bit together and we ended up getting lost actually for just a couple of 100 meters, but we took a wrong turn and we ended up going left instead of right. Here we realized that we had taken this wrong turn and I took it as an opportunity to take off all the layers that I had because it was getting so hot. So I took off my jacket, I took off most of the stuff that I had on. So lesson learned, when you meet someone else on the course, don't just follow them blindly, but always keep your brain on and always navigate with your own resources.
Ooh, so we are 3 hours in, 67k, and it is starting to make itself present. Legs are starting to get tired. Generally, I'm starting to get a bit confused, which usually means I need to eat more. But it is awesome, man. Being outside in these spots is absolutely awesome. I love it, and it is really something that I encourage everyone to try. It's like sending it like 40k on a gravel path or downhill is pretty awesome feeling. Trying to go a little bit slower now, not going full gas, no music, eating, and see how it goes. Kept on riding through gravel roads, alternated with paved roads, and this was the last section before the first real climb of the day, which is going to take us on the Serra di Ivrea, which is kind of like super crazy flat mountain, glacial geological formation, and it is really steep to get up, and had to walk a couple of sections because they were a bit of technical single trail. Up at the top of the climb, I managed to again get lost briefly for like 500 or 600 meters, but unfortunately it was downhill. So I had to make a U-turn and climb back up to where the proper road is. Lesson learned again, always pay attention to navigation because turns could be anywhere. The right turn that I had to take led me on a gravel path, downhill, very loose gravel, very hard on the wrist, and it was a pretty long descent actually. Man, it was awesome. Back in the forest, heading down from the Serra di Ivrea. Here is where I really started to wish I had A, tubeless tires, and B, some bigger tires like 40C or 42C. Physically, I was feeling kind of good. I wasn't feeling too tired, and I appreciated this moment to relax. But I did start feeling way less good than when I started, of course. It was obvious. After the descents, we were back on the flats, and I saw this as an opportunity to really test out the specialized Crux on flats and its reactive potential, and I started just sending it again. I thought I need to make up some time that I lost on the descent with all the loose gravel, and I need to kind of like get my head back in the game and really pedal as hard as I can on these paved sections. What happened was this flat part was pavement, but then alternated with really round cobblestone sections, which were extremely technical and hard on my wrists, and I really started to feel a lot of pain in my wrists. I was kind of feeling low, and especially I had finished my water supplies from the Camelback, which I was very stoked on the setup. It was very useful, so I very luckily rode through a town where I could fill up my water supplies. So we are 100k in, and I'm starting to feel really exploding. Found a fountain to get some water back. So I'd finished it all. I think the bladder's over, but I got 2 bottles, so I should be okay for another couple of hours, and hopefully I'll find another one. But yeah, so far it's been like, it comes and goes in waves. Some 20 minutes I feel great, 20 minutes I feel really awful. But so far it's still going pretty good. Still holding on. At this point we had the second climb of the day, which I didn't film because my GoPro died. And this is me on top of the climb, falling. This climb took us up to a medieval castle, a super panoramic view, and then it led into a descent, which was made of switchbacks, completely gravel, very loose, pretty much technical terrain, hard on the wrists. And this used to be the road that the carriages used to take with horses back in the medieval times up to the castle. It was awesome in the middle of the forest, and I just tried to go as fast as I could without dying. Exiting the descent, there was a part where I had to get off the bike, jump over a log. Then I got back on, cycled a little bit on flat, and we were back on the road for a little paved section. One thing that was really starting to get to me was getting back on the road after riding in the forest or in gravel away from everybody. I always kind of felt jaded whenever I got back on the road because I wasn't used to seeing cars or anybody, because I was just riding in the quiet, alone. So every time I would get on the road, it would take me a couple of minutes to get back to like proper functioning. Here we had a nice little paved descent that gave way to another flat section. From here on, we had a 15k flat section alternating between pavement and a lot of intense gravel in fields, a lot of washboard, a lot of loose rocks, very hard to navigate, very hard on the wrist. At this point, my wrists were really hurting like crazy. It was super painful to hold the handlebars, but I was trying to make up as much time as possible on the flats, being that this was a solo ride, so I didn't have anybody to draft off, and I had to basically just push as hard as I could with the intensity that my body would allow me to hold. I was feeling really toast at this point. I'd gone through sugar water, I'd gone through most of the bars that I had. I started off with like 12 cereal bars, like super basic. I think I'd almost finished them all. and I was feeling tired. The sun was blaring, it was kind of hot, and I wasn't in a good spot. I crossed through the countryside and reached what was going to be the hardest climb of the day. This climb was brutal. It was like 5 kilometers with incredibly steep grades, and here I really wish that I had some lighter gears to get up this climb. The effort I was holding was way past what I should have been holding with the 40-42 configuration. I should have needed something more like 46 or 50 in the back. And on this climb I learned a really precious, valuable lesson for my nutrition strategy going forward in events, and that is do not consume solid food. I had to stop mid-climb to go to the bushes, and it was a really, really bad experience. And I think it is 100% due to the fact that I ate cereal bars. Climb over, we started another section of alternated gravel and road. There was a short descent, and then it was kind of like all falls flat uphill, heading towards the last climb of the day. At this point, I was kind of like delirious. My energies were almost over. I kept on eating and drinking sugar water, but I was really feeling the toll of the day on me, and I still had quite a long way to go. I was around 140k in here. I was stoked on all the paths and the roads and going fast on these roads. It was a really, really great experience, but I was no doubt kind of like toast, and my energy was starting to fade, so I needed to find a solution. Basically, either I needed to drop the intensity or try to eat more. Another thing that I realized that I hadn't been taking in was caffeine. I hadn't had any coffees throughout the day, so I started looking around when I was on the road sections if I could see bars that were open to get a coffee. This part along the river was awesome. It was super fun. It was kind of rideable. And then we headed into a really hardcore cobblestone climb, pretty steep, fairly long actually. And here I just put my head down and I said, okay, let's get through this climb, and then hopefully it'll be better. The cobblestones turned into road, but the climb didn't stop. It kept on going up. I started trying to distract myself by looking around and really being joyful for the moment, but I was really tired at this point. After this climb, I really started looking for open bars. I found one after like 45 minutes. I went in, and I think the barwoman saw a scene that she'd never seen in her life. I ordered a double espresso. I put in 5 bags of sugar, and I chugged it down in order to try and wake me up. Then, not content, I got 2 Coca-Colas. I chugged them down in front of the woman in the bar. She was like speechless. She couldn't believe it. I got back on the bike and I tackled the last section of the race. This was going to be kind of like a semi-downhill / flat section, fairly fast, but road alternated with gravel, alternated with like country roads that are loose gravel and hard to navigate. And it included a couple of roads that went through a hill, which were very technical, that I didn't film because I was kind of toast at this point and I couldn't really film anything because I wasn't in the mood. And those were really technical. I had to walk a couple of spots. But then it got back to the final stretch, which was flat gravel roads, alternated with road. A bit of traffic in this section, but it was really nice. At this point, I had music in my ears. I was really charging, and I was at the final stretch, so I said, okay guys, let's just do this. It's gonna be over sooner than I know. It might take 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on what the terrain is gonna have for us, but I'm getting this done right now. Luckily for me, I was assisted with a 27 kilometer, basically all falls flat downhill section, and this was a real godsend. The terrain was still not really super fast. You had to pay attention to where you were going, and it was a bit muddy, but it was really a godsend. It felt so great to be able to like go fast without doing too much effort, knowing that this was almost the last section of the race. Going all day by myself, no drafting, anything, was really starting to take a toll on me. It had been a great day, awesome day of discovery, of thinking, of pushing my limits. But at this point, the only thing that kept me going was music. I had music in my ears, it was blasting, and it really helped me to get some more extra energy to push through this last section. Finally, the last timed section of the race. I was already toast at this point because my strategy had been to treat this as a training day, so go hard for 10 hours. So I really didn't push that hard in that section. I made it back through a beautiful single track and then to the velodrome. The finish of this race was in the velodrome. It was awesome to get one last lap in, think about the day, think about all that I've learned, and the fact that I really enjoyed myself during this experience. It was something new that I've never tried and that really hit home with me, and I loved it. I already knew this from extensive training, but this experience just solidified this belief in my mind, and that is that lightweight racing gravel bikes and these types of events really sit in the intersection between what can get you super fit and what is incredibly fun. That was really hard. Man, I am toast. That was epic. That was really epic. Still can't believe I did it. I had a really dark moment. It was a lot of ups and downs, much more than other times actually. But I'm so stoked that I did it. Now I was just sitting down talking to people and everybody's stoked on the course. It was a really nice ride. So it's cool, really cool event. Happy I came, and happy that I trained for Ironman, which makes it so that you can participate in whatever event that you want on a drop of a hat. I decided 2 days ago to do this race. It's crazy, and to be this fit year round, only Ironman can do that. Only Ironman Fitness can do that. The bike is completely destroyed. That's how the real OGs come back from the race on the bike, 25k back home. I am demolished. So guys, that was a really epic event. What ended up happening actually is that there was a prize giving, and it was supposed to be only for the time sections. After they gave the prizes for the time sections, they kind of like made up a special prize for basically me, because I ended up completing the loop in the fastest time. Which was around 10 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. So they actually gave me a prize. You can technically say that I maybe won something, even though, I mean, the field was not stacked and this was not like a race intended to be done this way. But it was cool. It was really nice. Everybody was pretty stoked actually that I managed to do the loop in one day. And I think all in all, 4 people finished it. So kudos to those guys. And now I would like to give you a little debrief on the data. So how hard was this event? Total distance, 206 kilometers. Moving time, 9 hours and 46 minutes. Total time, 10 hours and 14 minutes. So that is all time that I lost by having to stop because of my nutrition. So that is a big lesson that I learned. And the second lesson that I learned is I could have definitely made up some time if I had bigger tires, and especially tubeless tires, not with tubes. Running a lower tire pressure is extremely beneficial. Right now my bike is running a tubeless setup, and it is completely different, especially on really hardcore gravel, like on this race course. The Strava relative effort for this event is 546, which is pretty massive. It's pretty huge. To put it into context, the Ironman relative effort on Strava is around 700. It was a really hardcore event. Average HR for the whole ride was 140 beats per minute. So I did 10 hours at 140 beats per minute. I'm definitely happy that I did this event. I would encourage everybody who watches this video, if there is a gravel event near you, go do it, because it is so much fun and it is so hard. It can be both fun and hard. So absolutely epic. I'm gonna be doing more events like this for sure in the future. It's kind of like a really good mix of adventure plus really charging on the bike. So 100% would recommend an event like this. As I said before, the 2 biggest lessons that I learned were not relative to pacing, not relative to strategy. I think that worked out pretty well actually. I got to the end that I was done, I was toast, but I think that stuff worked out pretty well. What I would change would be 2 things. The nutrition, I would stick to only liquid calories or gels like sugar water, maple syrup, or gels. That's what I would do. And I would use Morton gels. That's the thing. I would not use solid food for a 10-hour event. In my opinion, it makes no sense, because if you eat solid, you risk getting more gastrointestinal problems, way more than with sugar and water. And the second thing is, as soon as you eat something solid, blood goes to the stomach, you have to digest that thing, and if the intensity is really low, it can be done with no problems. But in this case, I think the intensity was too high to be done, so I ended up having this problem. Especially, I had the problems that I had to stop, and I had to go take a dump in the woods, like on the hardest intensity spot of the day. It was a really hard and sharp climb, where with my gears, I couldn't really push the effort that I would have wanted to. So I was forced to up the intensity, and that led to GI distress, real GI distress that I never have. As far as the race setup, I'm really happy with the setup that I had. So Specialized Crux as a bike, I will change the only thing, the tubeless tires. But regarding like storage and carrying stuff, the trail running backpack is absolutely awesome with the Camelback. It's perfect in my opinion. I actually really enjoy riding with backpack. I'm super used to it because I've always been commuting in the city by bike. Like I went to shoot with a client the other day, and I just went with my bike and my backpack. So it's something I'm super used to. And in my opinion, it's super convenient. You can put a lot of stuff in there and it doesn't weigh down the bike. I hate it when the bike is super heavy for climbing, and I much prefer to have everything on my back with a backpack. So that is something that I would advise anyone to try. Maybe you will like it, maybe you won't, but in my opinion, it is absolutely great. It's awesome to have a backpack. And the trail running backpack is really cool because it just fits. You basically don't feel having it on. The only thing I would change is I went with a 9-liter Salomon backpack, which didn't have any settings for like the length of the shoulder things. Now I've been using another Salomon backpack, which is 12 liters and it has more adjustability for how it can fit on you, and I really like it a lot more. Cargo bibs all day. I love them. You can just put snacks in the pockets. It's just extra storage, so those are 100%. I would recommend them. Even if you do put bags on your bike, it makes no sense to not have cargo bibs. Camelback that I had was 2 liters, and I think it was a good size. I wouldn't have gone for anything bigger. I don't even know if they exist actually. And smaller would have finished too early, so I wouldn't have had enough opportunities to restock. So I'm really happy with the Camelback. Okay guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope it inspired you to maybe go out, do a gravel race. They're super fun. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. That will be awesome, and it's a free way to support the channel. And if you really like the video, please consider super thanks. That's a really great way to support the channel. I will reinvest all the money into things that will help grow this channel. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video.